Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and it is time for the rankings. We're going to do the quarterbacks and the tight ends in one video this week. I don't know how many people will need these rankings. I know it's a fraction, like maybe 3% of the normal amount of people, per every other week will actually need these rankings. So I'm really going to just run right through them. Unfortunately, there's a lot of questions going on in part due to the unfortunate events of Monday night, and you would have to be like a comic book villain to not obviously hope for the best for Damar. Luckily, he got the, as good of care as you could health-wise throughout his ordeal and afterwards. So, things are sounding as positive as could be. So, 2 thumbs up to that. Hopefully, Damar's up and running again sooner than later. I know that's a possible outcome. You've heard everything that there is to hear on that. I clearly wouldn't have any kind of expertise on any level regarding that. So we're just going to focus on fantasy football. I'll have the rankings out this week. I don't think I'm going to do anything like DFS, probably not have a Saturday special. Like I said, I'll be running through these. I'm starting to go collect data for the season-long stats, get them into some of the spreadsheets that I already have from last season for analyzing the entirety of the seasons, how players did, etc. So I'm starting to work on that. I'll spend the extra time I have doing that, and in the meantime, I am spending as much time or more with these rankings, so hopefully they're top tier. I think, a lot of good calls last week, and unfortunately, a couple of the calls that I did have wrong were really wrong, whether it was somebody I really liked and they didn't do good or the opposite. So hopefully didn't cost anybody their championship with any wrong call, and hopefully helped more people win with the good calls. As far as what we're seeing here, it's the normal layout. I do have a color system over here, and this has to do with the headache of week 18. So the green highlighting is the teams who are still playing for seeding, and this does have some, whatever is determined between Kansas City or Buffalo, or maybe not yet determined prior to the game, may have some impacts on some of this. So that's just another question where I will be going live Saturday and Sunday 1 hour before kickoff, maybe like 45 minutes each or something like that, maybe depending on what kind of how many people show up on the Saturday one. So I will be going live to answer any start-sit questions as normal, and my rankings will be up then and throughout the week, depending on the news that we get as far as players who will or will not be playing, or we know are going to be limited, things like that. That will change things, but until then, I made some assumptions based on, a lot of factors, my own thoughts at the end of the day here. So blue is going to be teams that are in the playoff hunt, and then orange is teams that are already in the playoffs, and as far as I know, they have nothing to gain or lose by winning or losing this weekend, and that's Tampa Bay and the New York Giants. So hopefully I got that right. The news wasn't really too focused on the NFL playoffs today, rightfully so. So hopefully I was able to decipher everything correctly. Now let's just hop right into, I'll go through the tiers of my rankings, and I highlighted the players who I have the most difference with for both the quarterbacks and the tight ends. I don't have too many major differences, a very minimal amount of differences between myself and the ECR. I think all in all, we're going to be seeing a fair amount, a good amount of usage this year in week 18 for a lot of players. I also think that because of the teams that still are competitive and not, that start-sit shouldn't be too tough this weekend, and it probably will be by the time we get there, though. So let's get right onto it. My first tier of quarterbacks, I should have said too, over here is the difficulty rating. This is the matchup of the opponent, how difficult it is. Red is good, blue is bad, white is neutral. Now, at quarterback number 1, I have Josh Allen, followed by Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Jared Stidham, Justin Herbert, So Justin Herbert, I have quite a ways behind the ECR. Aaron Rodgers, I have a little ways behind the ECR. Justin Fields, I have ahead of the ECR. It looks like he's gonna, they played him last week throughout, and they said prior to that they're gonna play him throughout the last 2 weeks. They need a lot of development to continue to go on, so I think it makes sense for that to be true this week, and it's a really good matchup. Then Jalen Hurts, I also have above the ECR. I'd expect him to probably move up. There's just a question of if he'll be starting or not this week yet. We don't know that for sure. Now, my second tier of quarterbacks are kind of upside guys here. Russell Wilson I have at QB 15, followed by Deshaun Watson, Mike White, and Sam Darnold. All, I think, have good opportunities or have been performing well as of recent compared to season long to plop themselves up and beat some of these guys out. And so if you are looking for a streamer, those would be some good options. And the same here. These are just less confidence, but still some good options here in Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback 19, followed by Tyler Huntley, Mac Jones, Tom Brady, and Daniel Jones. Will, depending on any kind of news, shift him up or down, but I'll be at least surprised if Daniel Jones plays, and I would be surprised if Tom Brady were to play an entire game, that's for sure. I do think he'll probably want to go out there knowing him. Now let's move on to the next tier here, where I have Andy Dalton at quarterback 24. So, obviously these guys are just kind of in a placeholder here, Tom Brady and Daniel Jones. But Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz, Davis Mills, Kenny Pickett, Joshua Dobbs, and Baker Mayfield all round out my next tier, my fourth tier of quarterbacks. And then to wrap things up, I got David Blau, Desmond Ridder, and Sam Ehlinger in at my last little tier here of guys who I really don't see a whole heck of a lot of upside. Not that David Blau played bad at all, not that Desmond Ridder doesn't have some upside, and he'll be playing a full game for sure, so that's nice. Sam Ehlinger, he's in a tier on his own at the bottom. There's really no upside to him. So, yeah, that is how it rolls. Let's move on to the tight ends. Depending on how this edits, I don't know, you may have caught that I did not end up having tiers prepared for my tight ends, so I just quickly did those. I think I agree with those. I could make 2 tiers maybe out of this first tier, do that a little bit differently, but this will work. So it's the same setup here, and you'll really notice for the tight ends, I do not have a lot of differences, not even 3. For the quarterbacks, I highlighted everybody that was more or less than 3 spots away from the expert consensus ranking, and here I only have 2 guys who I just have 4 spots and 7 spots behind the ECR. Other than that, everybody's within 2, 1, or I have them ranked the same as the ECR. The ECR is the expert consensus ranking from Fantasy Pros website, by the way, as of early Tuesday, I believe. I don't think I did this yesterday. Let's start off with the first tier of tight ends. I have Travis Kelce at the top, followed by George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Cole Kmet, and Pat Freiermuth to wrap up that first tier. And I will say there's a confidence fall off. I mean, obviously, so like the top 3, 0 concern. You have to throw them out without any concern. Then you're feeling hopeful / really good about Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, even probably Evan Ingram given this matchup. And then I feel more confident with these guys than once we start to get into here. So they just kind of slipped into that tier. That's where how this tier kind of could be broken down a little bit more micro-alike. But let's move on to my next tier of tight ends, starting off with Taysom Hill at tight end 11, followed by Tyler Higbee, Darren Waller, Tyler Conklin, Juwan Johnson, Dawson Knox, Gerald Everett, Hayden Hurst to wrap that up at tight end 18. And so I will say, Dawson Knox, yeah, I could easily get him up to 14 here ahead of Tyler Conklin. I did move Conklin ahead of Juwan Johnson, so then I was looking at Dawson Knox and Juwan Johnson, and to me, I took the slightly better matchup with the guy who also has the actual better chance at getting a touchdown to some extent, at least. Maybe it's about equal, but percentage-wise, Juwan Johnson has gotten touchdowns at a high rate, and I think definitely more than Dawson Knox has this season. So for that, I gave him kind of a tiebreaker between the two. That's really the only one there that I had any difference with. So let's move on to the next tier of tight ends, which starts off at tight end at 19 with Hunter Henry, followed by Noah Fant, Trey McBride, Robert Tonyan, and Cade Otton to wrap them up. One thing about Cade Otton, I do have confidence that he'll probably play the whole game. The only thing would be if you get a backup quarterback in there, that's some concern. But Cade's a guy who's a rookie and learning how to play the game still and benefits from all the playtime that he can get. And so those are the types of things to think about as far as players and, will they play through the game or not, even if they're a starter. Think about those kinds of things. Unfortunately, we can't know all of the incentives and, if the guys are going for those incentives or if their health is more important to them than the incentives, blah, blah, blah. So let's just wrap up my final tier of tight ends here at tight end 24 with Jelani Woods, followed by Chigozie Okonkwo. And I just want to say Austin Hooper is the better tight end in that backfield. I will have him ranked higher up on the website, www.theff4. Should have plugged that earlier, where you can find my updated rankings. I'll keep those up to date as news comes throughout the week. I'll get those up hopefully tomorrow, otherwise, or like today. Otherwise on Thursday as normal. And finally, let's just continue this tier then with Logan Thomas, Daniel Bellinger, Isaiah Likely, Mike Gesicki, and Jordan Atkins to wrap that up. I don't think I really need to explain this one too much. Really bad tight end matchup there for Jordan. I like the upside of some of these guys a little bit better. Daniel Bellinger, same thing with Cade Otton. I think he'll end up playing his normal allotment of snaps, regardless of who's at quarterback. Maybe get rested late or something like that. But that is it for my quarterback tight end rankings. I will have wide receiver rankings, running back rankings. Might do them like one Thursday, one Friday. I might just spread these all the way out. I'm not positive yet. I will have a video later this week or into early next week talking a little bit about what to look forward to this off season. I don't really know what kind of format to do that in, but I guess just an announcement video, channel announcement. That's the thing, right? All right, take care. Bye-bye.